West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, October 27th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We've got just another call we're going to get to, and then we're going to be joined after news and comment with Blake Olson by Keisha Tony Russell, Senior Counsel for First Liberty Institute, as a Colorado teen girl has been banned from decorating her high school parking space with a Bible verse. Unbelievable. All right, but the debate from the last hour spilling into this hour. Wall Street Journal, big story about how the economy has been lousy for the next generation coming up. John Stossel making the argument, no, you're just living way above your means. You're going out to eat more often. You're relying on DoorDash. You're taking more fancy vacations than the previous generations did. Roll back your spending, and you'll be able to afford that starter home. What do you think? Let's go to the phone lines. Kathleen in Denver. Good morning, Kathleen. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Thanks for having me on. I really was excited to hear that John Stossel piece this morning when I turned on the radio. I think he makes a lot of good points. Your caller that looked at the actual cost of living is correct too in comparing prices then and prices now. You know, obviously economies are hugely complex. So I think both perspectives are important. I agree, I guess, with Stossel a bit more in that, you know, I watched my parents in the late 60s, early 70s, and how they worked hard, and, you know, they didn't start off in a great house. And, you know, they were in a poorer area. They worked hard, and that's what I saw in the country. And now I just hear today's generation expecting a certain standard of living and complaining that they're not going to do as well. So I think there's a little bit of both, as there is in most debates. And I would just point out that those of us that are older, you know, I think we should help the younger generation along as well. I personally helped my son with his down payment on his condo, very modest condo. It's not a gift. I expect to enjoy the proceeds when he sells. But, you know, us in the older generations, we do need to pay it forward.
Yeah, now, I got a question just quickly for you, Kathleen. You helped your son with the down payment on that condo. That traditionally is that starter home. Where are those starter homes? That's the problem that first-time home buyers are telling us is an issue in the market. They don't have access to those housing prices. They have to start at the mid-range, and that's the barrier for entry. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that to some extent. Like I said, you know, there's points on both sides. But he bought a $285,000 condo in 2021. So an affordable, you know, fairly affordable with help with the down payment. So I think there are some out there, but you're right. The housing prices have gotten out of control.
Yeah. And if we go back, and I appreciate the phone call, Kathleen, if we go back to Ben from Morrison who came up, that the price, you know, back in the 60s and 70s, that condo would have been 130, not 280. And that's kind of what they're talking about the constant rise in those prices. I was just talking to someone on text messages. This is something everybody will remember. Winter Park lift tickets. Winter Park lift tickets in 1985, one day, run you about $25. Today, one day is going to run you 280. That's the difference.
Thank you, corporate ski conglomerates.
But that's the difference. You want to talk about where the rising cost and percentages? We complain about, you know, Stossel was saying, oh, all these kids go out and do lots of entertainment. Really? You think it's a bunch of Gen Z kids and millennials that are up there on those slopes all the time? Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's changed. But he does have a point about the fact that we eat out. Everybody eats out all the time. That's crazy.
Everybody did, though. I mean,
that needs.
The only thing is I remember McDonald's, Burger King. I remember the Yum Yum tree. Shout out to everybody in the audience remembers the Yum Yum tree. Yeah, that's OG in Denver. That was fantastic. One of the first big food courts ever. So yeah, we did go out to eat. It was different, but it still happened. Yeah, I think he's wrong on that.
Oh, I think he's right on that. All right, well, that's the Jeff and Bill
Show. That's the show, yes.
All right, headline from the Daily Mail. Outrage as Colorado teen girl banned from decorating her high school parking space with a Bible verse. I can keep saying this. Colorado's the most hostile state to Christians in America. I'll keep shouting it. We'll have lawsuits over and over and over again. Here's another example to add to the spreadsheet, I guess. All right. We're going to talk with an attorney from First Liberty about this case coming up. Let's go to news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, guys, good morning. 41 and partly cloudy, foggy, a little bit up north, but it's burning off. Expecting a high of 68 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Denver police have arrested a suspect following a deadly hit-and-run crash early Sunday morning. One man who witnessed the crash says the area where it happened is always busy, especially on the weekends.
It was crazy. Like, it was definitely, like, had me in shock. I was like, wow, like I'm so sorry for that person that lost their life. Like, may they rest in peace. Like, it was crazy. It was just, like, very, traumatic just to see that in general.
It happened at the intersection of 16th and Market Streets just after 2:15 in the morning on Sunday. A pedestrian killed while trying to cross the street, and the driver involved ran from the scene. 27-year-old Milton McBride was arrested a few blocks away. He was booked for investigation of vehicular homicide.
What are they fighting? It's a clean CR. It's the same level of funding that they have voted for as recently as earlier this year.
Speaker Mike Johnson, day 27 of the Schumer shutdown.
They are Biden-level policies and spending. This is not some Republican wish list. We don't have any of our priorities in this at all. It's the Democrats' own product. But they have decided to flip the script this time because they were getting too much heat from the far left. The facts are so simple. And I'll give you Exhibit B as to why this is so true. On Friday, there was a little bit of a seismic shift in politics. All of you noticed it over the weekend. We saw our clearest sign yet that this radical insurgent movement in the Democrat Party is succeeding. And they are ending what has always been known as the Democrat Party in America.
They're all supporting Kami Mandami. DJT landed in Japan this morning where he met with leaders and will again later in the day. Later this week, 47 set to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The U.S. Pacific Fleet says 2 separate crashes involving the U.S. Navy aircraft happened about 30 minutes apart during routine operations over the South China Sea. All 5 crew members were rescued and in stable condition. What happened there? Interesting. AOC, speaking of the Kami Mamdani rally, here's AOC.
Jews escaping Holocaust, Black Americans fleeing slavery and Jim Crow, Latinos seeking a better life, Native people standing for themselves, Asian Americans coming together in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, in Staten Island, in this country,
And she forgot to mention the Democratic white ladies, and as Jeff said earlier, about an hour ago, she doesn't have to. They'll support her anyway. She was at the rally last night for
In
Mom
our
Donnie.
home, we stand for science. They always put up signs, too.
Yes.
The white suburban liberal women. They got the signs out.
They're so frightening. God. All right, she wants to. No, they all want to grow government, tax you more, just release all the criminals in the jails. Oh, what a beautiful place, and give you everything for free. Oh, here we go. Hold on tight. The Broncos jumped out to an early lead Sunday against the Cowboys at Mile High.
The pocket in the end zone, and it's caught. Franklin for the touchdown.
44-24, the final. Bo Nix, 19 of 29, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and it's the Broncos' 5th straight. J.K. Dobbins, 111 yards. Rookie tailback R.J. Harvey, 46 yards, 2 TDs. Troy Franklin, 6 receptions, 89 yards, 2 TDs. Broncos now 6-2.
Nix down the field, end zone bound. Oh, what a catch! That's Bryant, the rookie, with his first NFL touchdown.
Man, those unis look so good. So good. Here's Bo Nix.
The theme today that I kept saying over and over, I'm fortunate I get to be vocal in a lot of different situations, whether it's pregame, getting the receivers and skill guys up, getting to talk to them, whether it's, before we go out there talking to the team, whether it's, pregame prayer. I, really was focusing on, not worrying about what other people think, not worrying about proving it to this, not worrying about proving it to, my family, my friends, not really even the team. I go out there each and every day, play for an audience of one. I feel like I'm in a great spot.
Yeah, man, it's working for him. Good deal. All eyes on the Chiefs tonight against the Commanders. Jordan Love and the Packers over Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers last night. Avalanche, they lose to the Devils 4-3. World Series tonight moves to L.A. Dodgers playing host to the Blue Jays in Game 3 at Chavez Ravine. 38 in Lone Tree, 39 in Broomfield, 41 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A Pacific front will be pushing its way through Colorado today, bringing some cooler, unsettled weather. We'll still make it into the 60s today, but turning cooler this afternoon with gusty west-northwest winds developing, and late this afternoon and evening may have a few showers. Colder tonight, a low near 30 with a brisk and a chilly north wind. It'll be a cool day Tuesday. Highs only upper 40s and lower 50s. Freezing temperatures, low to mid-20s Tuesday night. Sunny Wednesday and Thursday, highs back to the mid to upper 50s. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Colorado once again making international news. Daily Mail covering this one. Outrage as Colorado teen girl is banned from decorating her high school parking space with a Bible verse. A high school senior in Colorado who is banned from decorating her personal parking space with Christian imagery and messages has accused the school of violating her First Amendment right to free speech. She should. She's exactly right. Sophia Shoemaker was barred by Rampart High School from painting her space with a shepherd on a hill, a staff, and a sheep, along with a Bible verse, according to a demand letter that was sent to the school on October 22nd. She was also later denied a request for a more subtle inclusion of an abbreviated verse, 1 Corinthians 13:4, along with a new design that was otherwise not religious. The Bible verse she wanted to reference is one of the most recognized in the faith. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Our good friends at First Liberty Institute, fighting the good fight on behalf of this Colorado high school student, Keisha Tony Russell joins us now. Keisha, thank you, first of all, for representing the rights of this student. And thank you for taking time to join us this morning.
Yes, thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for covering Sophia's story.
All right, let's dive into it. Tell us what the demand letter is requesting from this high school.
Well, we laid out the free speech and free exercise violations that the district is committing, and we asked the school if Sophia can repaint her parking spot with her original image, and more specifically, that would be the verse that talks about that Jesus will leave the 99 to go and find the one lost sheep. So it's actually a really beautiful depiction. And we're asking them to let her go ahead and paint that and include the abbreviated scripture verse the way she wanted to in the first place, and rescind their unconstitutional policy that says religious imagery is not allowed on these parking spaces.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're allowed to have some guidance when it comes to messages. We couldn't let, explicit language be painted there, or calls to violence or bullying, for instance, to be painted on these high school parking spots. But no religious imagery at all? That seems like a bridge too far, for my opinion. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it absolutely is a bridge too far, and you're right. The school does have some discretion, and you're exactly right with the things that you said. Anything that's going to be violent or threatening or something like that, the school can absolutely, censor those things. But what they can't do is censor religious speech when they're allowing other students to, paint secular messages, not just in the school, but throughout the district. There are students who are allowed to paint religious imagery, and this particular school is, discriminating against Sophia's wish. And that's why we're here, and that's why we're going to keep fighting for her.
That's Keisha Tony Russell. She's senior counsel with First Liberty Institute. Keisha, why have they said no religious imagery? I mean, I imagine I wouldn't have, most people in Colorado wouldn't have any problem whatsoever with people painting a Star of David to represent their Jewish faith, or, any other religious imagery out there, Buddha, Hindu. No, I don't think anyone's going to be care too much about it. So why is the school seeking to ban religious imagery?
Well, I can't explain what their thinking is on this. It happens more often than I would like, certainly, across the country. Many public schools ban religious expression, and it's unconstitutional. And we have to remember, we can't really give these schools a pass. They're supposed to be educating our students about the First Amendment and about how it applies to them. And if they're violating the First Amendment, what are they teaching the students about religious expression? They're certainly not teaching them tolerance. They're certainly not teaching them the letter of the law. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about religious liberty in schools, because the result is going to influence so many people. Thousands of students are going to see, what they're doing and think it's okay.
That is Keisha Russell, Senior Counsel, First Liberty Institute, joining Jeff and Bill live. She is helping a young woman that is at Rampart High School fight for her right for free speech. It concerns decorations that are in the parking lot on their parking space. The young lady wanted to put something of a Christian message, and the school has said no. Now, I'm not looking for exact quotes, Ms. Russell, but I'm looking for kind of in a thumbnail sketch. What was the reasoning that the school provided to tell this young student that no, her message was not allowed? And secondarily, did they ever come to her and say, can we massage or change the message from maybe an original plan she had? What do we know about this?
So the school's guidelines, which are on their website, talk about the fact that they believe that this is all government speech. And this is a pretty common justification and excuse for censoring private religious expression. That, schools will often broaden that concept of government speech, which means that, the government speech would mean that the government isn't susceptible to a free speech argument because they're allowed to decide what they want to say. But the reality is that they're allowing the students to decide what they want to say. And when you do that, you open up that public forum, you cannot censor religious speech. And that's what's going on here. So they have, if you look at their guidelines, they'll say they don't allow, say, gang-related or offensive language, which, obviously gang-related is understandable, but offensive, a little bit too broad, right? Who knows what that means? Yeah. And then they have political, religious, and trademarked images, right? So there's a lot of sort of convoluted justification here, but you can't just slap a government speech title on something once you open up that public forum. There's just no way to do that, and they're absolutely wrong about their legal position here, and we are going to keep fighting. for Sophia's right.
Now, Keisha Russell is a senior counsel at First Liberty Institute talking about the young woman at Rampart High School has been told she can't put Christian messaging as they are not painting kind of a chalk art on their individual parking spaces out in the parking lot. Now, this is just an informative question. I'm not sure about this, but I'm curious. Did the school require any sort of a payment or donation to participate in the Decorate Your Parking Space program? Did they require any payment in order to be part of the program?
They did require the students to pay. I believe it was $45. So they do have to pay for their spot. And then obviously the students get to, create the message that they want to put on that spot, and then they get to paint it. And the other thing is, Sophia was pretty hesitant about trying to approach the school because the school guidelines say you only get one chance to change your design or you completely forfeit your spot. So you can imagine what kind of position you would be in as a 17-year-old thinking, I really want to express my faith. I really want to express my love for Jesus Christ. But I'm afraid that if I, push too hard, they're going to take my spot away. So there's also this sort of punitive aspect of the school's policy, which I think is problematic.
I understand the punitive nature of that. And the reason I asked about the payment is because, and I'm kind of curious about your thoughts on this one, is that by asking the students to make the choice to pay to be included in this, it adds another layer of administration and also a buffer. In my mind, it seems to allow the school a little more control over the speech than if they just let every student decorate every parking space that they had inside of the parking lot. Because there is a manner of pay to play, doesn't it give this school a little bit more control over it? And in fact, yeah. And the thing is that they already outlined the idea of you only have one time to revamp your design. Seems to imply, I'm not certain it rises to contract level agreement, but at least if you're paying the money, you already know that there is a process and procedure in which your design may be rejected. What am I missing in that there? Not saying that you're wrong or she's wrong. I'm just saying, is that why the school is doing that? And what other extra layer of administration and control does that allow the school based on the fact that you have to pay in order to get access to be able to do this?
Well, I actually think the payment cuts against the government speech argument because it demonstrates that they're creating a public forum. You can pay to speak here, you can pay to park here, and it demonstrates to me more so that the parking spot belongs to the student and not the school if they're paying to use it and they're paying to, express themselves on it. So I actually think it cuts the other way. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask. I see where that's going, and I'm curious about, and I'm sorry, I interrupt people all the time. I apologize. That's just me.
It's totally fine.
So what do we do with the fact that, and I like that. I like where you're going, that because they're asking for the pay, that then creates the public forum and is allowing the child, or the student, it's a better term, the student to make the decision on what that parking lot is. What about their addition on the other end of, we may reject a design and you only have one time to remake it? I think that's too onerous, and I think that's too problematic. But what about that? Them creating inside of that agreement, we do have the ability to check and balance what you're putting there. Does that give them any more control in your mind?
No, because as the school, they have, the authority, like we said before, to evaluate speech based on, whether it's going to be like threatening or anything like that. But here, the school is evaluating Sophia's speech based on its content. That's called viewpoint discrimination, and it's a violation of the free speech clause. They're not allowed to say, we're going to reject this based on the religious viewpoint that you're presenting here. Because another student could be saying something inspirational because it's from a secular viewpoint, they're saying it's okay. So there's really no justification here. Your discrimination against speech because of its message is presumed to be unconstitutional. That's what decades of free speech precedent from the Supreme Court says. And, that's the reason why they really can't, justify what they're doing to Sophia. The law is just completely against them here.
Yeah, that's Keisha Russell, Senior Counsel for First Liberty Institute, joining us about a student at Rampart High School who had paid to belong to a program in which would allow her to decorate her parking space in the parking lot, and they didn't like the religious message. And I think you're exactly right, and I appreciate where you went with that conversation, even though it's being a pain in the ass, because I think that the crux, the fulcrum of this conversation is going to be what is offensive about what she is putting on her parking space? That would the average person in the community find anything offensive based on their guidelines for what she's placing on the spot? And I think that's where the school is going to fall apart. Their argument is going to fall apart because I don't see any way that they can show that what her proposed design is would be offensive on any level to any member of that school community. But I know, Jeff, you've got a question.
Yeah, Keisha, Tony Russell, Senior Counsel, First Liberty Institute. Any indication that they allowed pride flags to be painted?
I don't know. I haven't gotten pictures of that. I do know that this is not the first time the district has sort of had, an accusation that they're discriminating against Christians. And so I think it's probably more systemic than it looks because this seems like such an isolated incident. I know in 2022 they were told that they were treating a Christian club different. This is a different school, but the exact same district. Christian club is being treated disfavorably, but I think it was an LGBTQ club. They were able to have access to promotion and advertising and things like that, and the Christian club was not. And another organization wrote a letter to them saying, "Hey, you can't do this." So I actually think this district needs, some training on this because they're teaching their students that, Christianity is to be censored. And, that's what's happening here. And even more so, it's even more problematic to the question I was asked earlier that other schools in the same district are allowing the students to paint religious content. So that even more cuts against their argument that this is government speech. It clearly isn't. They've opened the forum, and now they have to honor the free speech clause, and that's it.
For those of us that are Christians in Colorado, it's a constant drumbeat, constant challenge, whether you're a baker, a website designer, a Christian counselor, a Christian camp, or even a high school Christian that just wants to paint a Bible verse on a parking spot. It's an uphill legal battle against this culture, against this regime that somehow deems Christianity offensive while accepting everything else. Keisha, Tony Russell is doing great work with First Liberty. Go to firstliberty.org. Give them a donation. Thank them for fighting for our constitutional rights, not just of Christians, but for everybody. Firstliberty.org, firstliberty.org. Keisha, we really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's talk advanced hair restoration. If you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to their unmatched results. If you got a receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments, and get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the Advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Bill, I found it striking that the school doesn't even want political messages. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
I guess maybe
for me, I can see the political side of things, and the thing for me is the political messages I think today are more loaded, and I'm not sure that's the right word, than it was when we were growing up.
Yeah.
But the religious messages I don't think are. And
definitely
this
not those. It's like little
definitely,
sheep.
Oh, yeah,
on
definitely
a
know what
hill.
she had. And what I would challenge the school would be, I would love to bring in a number of different people inside of the school community, including members of other religions, and ask them what about this specific design you possibly find offensive. And what I mean by that is, and again, I'm being completely and totally extreme based on this analogy, but let's just put someone wanted to put something about the Church of Satan on their parking spot, but the messages were, love everyone, treat everybody the same, don't be a jerk, something like that. Even though it said Church of Satan, which you may not like necessarily the church, does the message underneath necessarily equate as an offensive message? And that's the challenge that I would have for anybody outside of the Christian religion, is to look at the display this young lady wants to put on her parking space at Rampart High School and tell me where the offense occurs. And I disagree with you if you say, I find it offensive simply because it's religious. I would push back on that, given the forum, as Ms. Russell accurately outlined. They opened up the forum. It seems to be applicable that as long as the message isn't overtly offensive or promoting something like drug usage or gang usage, it should be allowed. I think that's where the school has overstepped their boundaries here.
I think it's this kind of continued effort to push religion out of the public square, to go, well, somebody somewhere might be offended. We've got to make sure that it's a neutral public square, which means you can only paint Broncos and New York Yankees and Rockies and things like that on there.
Those are not trademark violations, so you can't do those.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't even do that.
You can't even do that. Yeah.
Your name at this point.
That's the point. Is exactly what you're talking about.
If it's Daniel, is then biblical.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh man, can we have fun with that? And I think that's great that Ms. Russell pointed out, is she's with the First Liberty Institute, is the assumption of it being offensive. That's something I always have had a problem with. Believe me, someone's going to assume something is going to be offensive. No. Wait, just pass it over to me. Let's test this. Yeah, that's what I used to do in high school.
All right, join the conversation. Is this offensive? Separation of church and state? Or this is just the continued pattern of abusing Christians in Colorado because we can bring our legal regime against them. Yeah, we'll fight it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court and eventually win, but it's going to take 5 years plus lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. I mean, what every aspect of being a Christian has been sued in this state at this point. So join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Outrage as Colorado teen girls banned from decorating her high school parking space with, gasp, a Bible verse, making it all the way to our friends over on the other side of the pond. Daily Mail covering this. Colorado once in the news for our treatment of Christians. So lovely. All right, let's go to the phone line. Steve, Denver. Good morning, Steve. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Great. Good morning, guys. My position is that any teacher or administrator who was involved in this decision against this young lady, they should, if they're going to be true to their beliefs, they should refuse their paychecks.
Help me understand that. What do you mean by that? How?
Well, they didn't like the religious connotation thing, but they accept their paychecks every couple of weeks, and on the back of that money it says, "In God we trust."
I like that.
They shouldn't have even accepted her payment. She paid them with a piece of paper that says, "In God we trust."
Yeah, but we can just grab that Sharpie and we can just Sharpie it out. I'm just saying that,
Oh.
Just playing with you, Steve. I appreciate that. That's smart, though.
I first made this case when I worked at a hospital and we weren't going to get holiday pay for Easter. And I wrote a short little paragraph to the administrator and said, "Hey, come on. It says in God we trust. Can't we just get time and a half, please?"
And what'd they say? They said no, didn't they?
The administrator had a sense of humor, like you guys, chuckled and said, "It's not going to happen, but that's a good one."
Yeah, and Steve, here's the thing is I was all starry-eyed very first time I was working full-time and realized that of the two places I was working at the time, one being radio, the other one being food service, neither one of them is required to give you holiday pay. That was a real kick to the nose. You're like, oh, that just sucks. Now, here's a question I have for you. Now, with these schools coming in and saying, they won't allow these type of religious messages, do you think that the fact that she had to pay to participate in this program and the fact that it was outlined beforehand that we were only going to allow to change the design once, meaning that the school had tacit approval of what was going on, do you think that hurts her case at all? Just personally, what do you think?
Like Peter Boyle says, my parents weren't lawyers, and so
yeah.
I don't have much of a case to make in any direction there, but I think they should give her money back, and she's already gotten her message out a lot farther than it ever would have been if they'd have just let whatever it is she said on there just
I think they should give her the principal spot.
That's
she
funny.
gets to pull right into the front and park right there, and the principal's got to walk.
Yeah.
Well, I hope she makes a South Park episode and gets some residuals.
Hey, there we go. I like that, Steve. Thanks for the call, man.
Steve's line will be open 303-696-1971. Bill, you bring up a point about paying, people buy yearbook spots and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
This just seems like they nitpicked at a point that it made the issue so much bigger because on those yearbook spots, you're going to see people go, "I want to thank God for getting me through 4 years." People do that.
Yep.
Who cares?
Here's the thing. Do I actually say this today? Yeah, it's Monday. Why not? Okay. I got 4 educators in my family, and as much as I love them, I have seen conversations, sometimes including them, sometimes not, in other educational circles, where there's an inability to find a required solution. You've heard the idea of talking something to death. I have seen circles of educators do that without moving the marker forward at all or accomplishing anything. And that is sort of what I feel like has happened here at Rampart High School, where there wasn't a real conversation about what is this student putting on the parking spot. 2, is that message going to be offensive, and to whom? I think my impression is that whoever's in charge, the group that's in charge at Rampart, saw a religious message, and that's as far as they thought. They turned around and decided to have a circle where they communicated, can we allow a religious message? What about a religious message? What about a religious message? And they went in circles and circles and circles, and they never actually looked at what the message was and whether or not that message could be interpreted as offensive. And that's where I think these educators lost their footing. And I see, and as the example that our lawyer friend, Keisha Russell from the First Liberty Institute, joined us earlier today, said other schools in the same district, in the same program, have allowed religious messages on the parking spaces. Because in my opinion, those educators asked the question, is the message offensive? I don't think those at Rampart got that far. I am open to be proved wrong, but I can't see how you can have a discussion about what the student wanted to put on her parking space and come to a conclusion after seeing it that by viewing of anyone else in the community would be taken as an offensive message. That's the problem I had. I think they got stuck in their little circle about here's the rule that we got to do, and oh my God, it's just religion, and because it's religious, blah, 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 blah. And they get to the end of the circle and they talk for 15 minutes or 45 minutes or sometimes an hour and a half. They haven't accomplished a damn thing. Nobody in that entire conversation asked the question, is this religious message offensive? Because that's the core. They never asked that question, but I could be wrong.
Common sense can go a long way.
Yeah, sure can.
To reducing problems. Yeah, they'll end up backtracking on this one.
Yeah, they will. They will.
And she'll be the winner.
Yeah, she will.
It reminds me of when I had the problems with the Colorado State Capitol. It took like 5 seconds on Google to find lots of other people wearing T-shirts with political messages.
The other part is this: is I hope that this the student at Rampart High School has a lot of friends, because if the court case comes out as long as the way that we think it is, that she will be victorious, I would encourage as many of her friends to adopt her exact parking space art. So they don't have it once, they've got it dozens of times.
That's a classic Bill Thorpe move.
It's exactly what I do.
Really? One?
Yeah, one.
How about a dozen?
Exactly. It's exactly what I would do. I would be talking to my friends today about this. You only get one change, and after the change isn't illegal, let's all change it, kids. Let's go.
Classic. Love it. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's been a classic show. We've had libertarians on. We've had attorneys from social conservative groups on.
Oh,
we've talked about the economy and Prime and all that stuff. So if you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. 710knus.com to download the podcast. And Bill, after the conversation we had with Chief Paul Pazin on Friday, put together a video detailing the report they did. That's at x.com/Jeff Hunt, showcasing there's a literal 1-to-1 correlation from number of, or the size of the jail population versus arrests.
Yeah.
So shockingly, you let bad guys out of jail and violent crime goes up.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's almost unimaginable.
Yeah, and I think that was also interesting, the Chief, is the idea of what we're charging people for and why. Is I understand you do not want to have this idea of classroom to prison pipeline, but he did outline very accurately that sometimes when people are not held responsible for some of the lower level crimes, you get into this cycle of, if I can do these things and there's no greater punishment, why am I going to find greater punishment for doing these greater crimes? There's somewhat of an incentive to continue doing the crimey-wimey stuff. So maybe sometimes you need to hold the lower level offenders responsible. Yeah.
Imagine you getting all conservative in your old age, Mr. Thorpe.
Oh, don't tell me about old age. Oh, man. We're going through birthday season in our house, so all the kids are turning, and I just feel older every day. It sucks. But, it's fun.
Well, video on that, x.com/Jeff Hunt. Podcast of today's show at 710knus.com. Kicking off the week. It's going to be a wild one. You're going to want to stick with us because this is where the debates take place.
Yes.
Including what kind of performer would you be at Casa Bonita?
Oh, I know. It totally put me in that monkey suit. And I will live out a dream.
That was the 6 o'clock hour.
Fantastic.
Brooke Shields is involved in labor disputes at Casa Bonita. Imagine that headline.
I know. Now, Jeff, you want to be one of the guys that would do the
just
shoot out and
dive. Pew, 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 and then
Here's
fall
the thing,
off
though.
into the waterfall.
Just saying, you are built much more for the diver versus me. No one wants to see this.
Big splash.
No one wants to see
big
this.
Splash. You're going to be covered up. You're not going to be wearing anything. Bill, you're going to be, I'm just going to fall and go. Zoop.
I know. You're making no splash at all. I'm going to get there, and they're like people in the back row
the
like,
kids
I got
are going
wet.
to be like, it's like the front row at
Yes.
at
like
SeaWorld.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. They're like, Shamu jumped in the pool, and now I'm wet, and we have to refill the pool. That's what happened with me. So I can't be one of the divers.
Splash zone. Billy's jumping off.
Exactly. Everybody back up. Hand out the raincoats. This is not good.
All right. We're kicking it off. It's been a fun day. Charlie Kirk Show's up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
What a belly flop into Monday. This is CanUS. We'll see you tomorrow.